Good morning. Hey, look, I almost did it. I almost did. Good morning, Charleston. Nah, I almost did. Good morning, Mullins. No, I almost did. Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing? Hey, welcome to this week's fantastic episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Guys, y'all know who I am. I'm your host. I'm Corwyn J. Millett. I'm the broker and the owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, look, today is just us. It is just us because we got to get back to being what we are, and that is real estate friends. And I got to have a very real conversation with you, our listeners, on today. So first and foremost, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to thank the people that have subscribed to our podcast, that are downloading our episodes, for you guys around the world who are doing that. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for seeking more information and trying to be engaged, but most importantly, being a part of our radio show family. All right, guys, I was having a meeting this past week with my assistant, our producer for the show. And, we were just overwhelmed by the number of downloads and the number of shares of our show over the past several weeks. It's one of those things that we put our heads down and we go to work every week and we just go do what we are called to do. That is to make sure we deliver to you relevant information, content, that we have fun while we're doing it, that we seek to engage you and challenge you to do and be better. But then we look back every now and again, and I tell people this very often. This has been a mantra for me for quite some time, which is we just put our head down and go to work. And every time, we every now and then, not we don't do it often, but sometimes we just put our head up to look and see the distance that we have come. This takes me back. I grew up, in a very rural area, a bunch of farms and things of that nature. And I remember distinctly as a very, very, very young child, being, in tobacco fields and things like that with my great grandparents and other people that worked with them. My great grandfather ran a farm for a family some years ago, and a long, 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 long time ago. And I remember, times out there in those fields, and I remember the times when I would just look up and see how far the people had come. That people had started on this row and then on this side of the field, and at some point in time you look up and they're on way over yonder on another row, and and a way further on the other side of the field. And we sometimes can treat our life, our business, whatever it may be, that same way. Let's just go get the work, whatever it is. And my apologies for anybody who may be offended by the reference, but guys, we're real here. We're going to talk and we're going to share and we're going to encourage from right where we are to where we're supposed to go and where we're supposed to be. So thank you so much for tuning in, for listening again from one end of our area to the other. Again, thank you so much. So for those of you who have not been with us very long, I want to preface what we're going to talk about today from the standpoint of I always endeavor to be your real estate friend. So over the past several weeks, we've had a plethora of people that we have brought to the show to have conversation with you, to share not only programs and resources that are available to help you on purchasing, to share with you information, content, statistics that is relevant no matter where you are in the market, whether you're buying or you're selling. We've brought in other local professionals to have the conversation about what's really going on out here. And for those of you who are watching me, I am pointing out over yonder, out through the window, what's going on out here in the streets. So that conversation we've had as well. But today we want to bring it back to where we need to start, and we need to start in our mind. So obviously, for the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of things happen. Okay, so societal, we've seen a pandemic that has brought governments essentially, nearly, not completely, but pretty close, almost brought society to a halt, like a screeching. I mean, we had the brakes locked up, okay, but we didn't make it to a complete stop. And we all understand. Let's not get into the, to be life goes, life goes. It goes on. It goes where it goes. It goes. But I want to talk about what has happened during that time period that has not changed. But I also want to talk about the things that have over the past couple of years. So the biggest change that has happened has been inventory. And we've had that conversation. We have beat that horse. That horse done died 13 times over. And here we still beating it. But inventory, we went from, several thousand units of homes on the market, which we're already into a buyer's market, down to an extreme of just over 1,000 units on the market, housing units on the market, which is extreme because, minus houses, people just deciding to sell houses way back yonder when, we've never had inventory this low. We haven't had inventory this low in decades here in Charleston. So we want to understand, obviously, that impact, but what we also need to understand is what technically has not changed. And what has not changed is, well, there's changed, but maybe hasn't changed as much. Let's just frame it that way. So this morning, as I was getting ready to bring this to you, it rested in my spirit this morning about people trying to keep up with the Joneses. Now, for those of you who are into sports, may have watched the Super Bowl, you know, I'm not a huge fan of any particular team, but I'll watch a good game, basketball, football. I'll watch a pretty decent baseball game. My great grandfather was a huge Braves fan, and and I say huge, but he just loved baseball from a kid. And he used to play it as a kid, and as he got into an older adult, and he would go out to baseball games in the community, but then he'd sit and watch a Braves game at home. So I'll watch a good game. So in watching the Super Bowl, most times people are either tuned in for just for the halftime show, whoever it's going to be. And guys, I don't know what side you on as far as this vote goes, but the show this year obviously was different than what shows have been in the past. The focus, the genre of music, all those things were different. And for those of you that grew up like I did, that's the music that I had as a young adult. Some maybe as a kid, but basically as a young adult. So in turn, I understand it, I appreciate it, and yeah, I enjoyed the show. So, but beyond that, we also tune in for the commercials. Guys, we can remember some years of, commercials that just like you just cracked up. I mean, you almost hollered and rolled off the chair. This year, Toyota had a commercial. And in that commercial, it was three Joneses driving three Tundras and a Jonas trying to keep up with the Joneses. You caught that? So here we are in 2022, and we're still trying to keep up with the Joneses. So I'm bringing this conversation to you because this is something that we see often in our business. As a broker, I am constantly engaging and seeking to engage with the agents that are members of our group, of our firm here, and having conversation and dialogue with them about what they're experiencing in their business. What's your challenges with the buyer that you're working with? What's the challenges with the seller that you're working with? Let's figure out what it is that they're trying to accomplish so you can best figure out how you can assist them. And sometimes people don't share the information that they need to share initially so that everyone knows and works in concert from the beginning. Sometimes you find out along the way, and then you have to make an adjustment in order to better serve them. But one thing that remains constant, is this. We're seeing people in today's society that are still trying to keep up with. Social media has made it so that people are getting a snippet and believe they have a full understanding. I jokingly say this, but it is so true. It's no different than someone reciting scripture, but not having the same context, the depth of the entire verse or chapter to know the context and the intent, the interpretation of that one verse. See, I'm pretty sure that when the pastor at church says to you, this chapter, excuse me, this book, this chapter, this verse, they're giving you that verse because that's where the power is in the chapter. However, they have to have context of the chapter to be able to point that out to you. But oftentimes, we as the lay people, we take that little snippet and it becomes the whole thing. Not, it becomes the important thing to know out of the whole thing. There's a difference. So in this society, in this time, people are taking a snippet. You see your friend who purchased a home, but you don't know their journey. You don't know the travail. And that's a word right there that's in the word. You don't know their pain. You don't know what they went through to get there, but you see that one little bit of relief. It's many of us, we want to birth a thing, but we don't want the pain of labor. Does that make sense? So you didn't see what they went through, but you saw the result. You saw the beautiful child. You saw the beautiful home, and you think and believe that you can go do the same thing, but not have the pain, not have to carry or nurture that vision, not have to carry or nurture that particular thing over that particular time to get to that particular place. So guys, look, before I get too far in, this is a very good place to kind of plug in, quote unquote, our break, the place where we, quote unquote, pay the bills around here and where we recognize our top agents here in our market, here in our office. So I want you to hold tight for a second while we do that. So we're going to come right back and we're going to pick up right where we left off. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in to Exit Strategies Radio Show. Congratulations to Exit Realty Low Country Group's Realtor of the Week, none other than Monica Wright, Right Home for You. You can reach Monica by dialing 843-452-0111 or text Right Home for You. That is WRIGHTHOMEFORYOU to 85377. Again, Right Home for You. You all give Monica a holler now and find your right home. Guys, and we're back. Second segment, Exit Strategy Radio Show. Hey, so before the break, guys, I'm going to jump right back in. We're having this conversation about keeping up with the Joneses. We referenced a Toyota commercial. Guys, for those who like Tundras, that's a nice, beautiful truck. But I drive a Ram, no. But that's a beautiful truck. However, keeping up with the Joneses, we're taking, guys, that little bit from social media. We're taking that little bit of not the testimony, because it ain't the testimony. See, the testimony is when you tell people what God has brought you all the way through. The testimony is when you share those times when you didn't know what to do, but to say, hey, God, my God, please, God. That's the testimony. See, what happens is in today's society, we don't share that piece anymore. See, when we're going through, we want to do all of that in quiet. We don't want nobody to know that we done went through. Yet when we come out, we want to know everybody that we are here and not that we went through anything to get there. So a lot of times we're seeing buyers in this market and sometimes sellers, but we're seeing buyers in this market say and do things that let us know that they are trying to either keep up with someone or they otherwise believe whatever someone else had is for them. Now, for your church pastor who may be ministering to you and talking to you, my thought process is that they're probably telling you that what God has for you is for you. Now, yeah, your friend might have went and bought that $500,000 home, but your friend may work somewhere different than you, or maybe they work the same place, but they make more money than you. Yeah, maybe their credit's better in order. Maybe they have a spouse. Maybe they have cash. Maybe they have other things that you don't have. Or most importantly, the reality is that you don't know about. You're making the assumption just because they pull up in a similar car like yours, you drive a Honda, they drive a Volkswagen, and you think just because they drive a Volkswagen and they can afford 500,000 and you drive a Honda and you could ought to be able to do the same thing. Well, they might be driving a Volkswagen when they can afford to drive a Mercedes or a Volvo or whatever other make that might be higher end. They may be doing that because their intent is to buy that $500,000 home. So they're sacrificing on the things that we seem to give more emphasis and more credit to than achieving the goal. See, we want to look good while we're achieving the goal, and the goal is to look better. That doesn't rationalize for me. So I'm bringing this conversation because this is real. We're seeing people right now who are not buying homes being priced out of the market and unable to buy a home because they are seeking to purchase the home like their friend bought years ago at a much lower price, when now that home is substantially more expensive and they can't afford it. We're seeing people who are turning their nose up at homes that are in their price range and affordability, because we get this all the time. This is something that we hear often from buyers. Well, I don't want to pay that much. Okay, well, that's fine. Then let's find something in your range. But when we find something in your range, well, I don't want to live that. I don't want to live in that area, whether it's further out than you want to be, or if it's a neighborhood that you don't particularly care to live in or own a home in, whatever it may be. And we're constantly challenged by, and pressure is put on the buyer by increasing rent. So you don't want to buy in this area, but you rent in that area. Or I don't want to buy this type of home when you rent that type of home now. So instead of making the transition into ownership, which gives you more power, more resources, and more opportunity, we remain where we are because either we're afraid to take the leap, or if we take the leap, it has to look a certain way. See, that's the challenge that we're finding right now with consumers in this market. So sellers are looking at, well, my neighbor got this. Well, your neighbor's home may be in better condition than yours. Your neighbor may have remodeled a home or upkept it better. I've been in homes recently that roofs were new or newer, appliances newer, not because they flipped them, not because they went in and remodeled the entire home before putting it on the market, but because from the time they bought it, they made it a point to upkeep it, to buy new appliances and put in, update the kitchen, because not because of what they intended to do in the future, but because they wanted to live comfortable at that time. So they forewent or foregoed, if you will, other things. They didn't worry about taking the vacations and being all over social media. They didn't worry about buying the flashy car and being all over social media. They in turn spent that money on their home and in their home, so that their asset, when it was time for them to sell, they didn't have to go and invest tens of thousands of dollars into the home to get it to where it would be more marketable, or they didn't have to discount the price on the home because it was outdated, if you will, and in turn, it wasn't worth as much as a home that was already up to date. So you all have to figure that out. You have to figure out which side of the coin you want to be on. But I want to caution you, because we have become, again, this society that we're keeping up or trying to keep up with the Joneses. This person makes a post about this and you got to make a post about that. And we do it for the likes, but not for the people. That's something that I constantly am challenging our team on internally, because we want to make sure that what we do for the people, not forgetting who we serve and why we serve them, that we don't do it for the likes, because the likes are vanity. It's that thing that we are told, that we've been admonished in by our Lord and Savior as a thing not to do. You can't be in service to others and in service to yourself at the same time. It doesn't work. So we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about our vanity, because in the end, God has told us that the meek shall inherit. So I'm not telling you to make less of yourself at all. No, no, by no means. But your priority should not be to quote unquote make yourself more and make less of others. There's a Yeah, you follow me. Let's put that together. You shouldn't be making more of yourself and making less of others. If you're going to raise people up, you raise everyone, but don't make less of others. And that's what happens. I've watched people be condescending to other people because, hey, I bought this house, yeah, you still rent, you living with your mama, this, here, that, and the third. And that's not the environment that you're going to find your success. That's not the attitude that's going to be conducive to the best for you. So we want to challenge you today in that. So, we're always telling you about the real estate market, about the opportunities that exist. We're always trying to challenge you all as our listeners in this. So we want you to do a few things for us. Exit Strategy Radio Show is more to me than just a method for me to speak to you. It is a method, is a vehicle that we use here to empower you, to empower our community, to get you on a different path at times, or to solidify or confirm, because every now and again you need some confirmation, if you will, of the word. Maybe God has told you something and you need to know that what you heard was him, and he'll send people to you. Sometimes that person would just say a word or two to you that's confirmation to what you heard elsewhere, where it was in your spirit elsewhere for you to do a particular thing. So we want to encourage you in that, because that is what we are here for, to encourage you, our listeners, to empower you, our listeners, to educate you on financial literacy and real estate education. But in order to educate you in those two matters, we have to make sure that your mind is right to receive it. See, people don't receive information on budgeting. People don't receive information on managing your debt, your credit. People don't receive information on home prices, values, on the approval process, on the closing process. They don't receive that information unless their mind is right. Otherwise, they reject it. Otherwise, they counter the information, and countering the information is rejection of it. They counter the information with, well, my friend or this person or whatever, they did this or they did that, when that is not your ability. If you're qualified for 200,000 and your friend bought a house for 400,000, you guys are going to be looking at completely different houses. Let's just be real with that. So we have to make sure that our mind is right to receive the information. And today's show is about getting your mind right as we prepare you for the next step. So we want to talk about and bring to you opportunities, not only for down payment assistance, because for some of you that's important, but we also want to give you other options. Perhaps you're a business owner and you're challenged in trying to qualify for a home traditionally, because fully documented loans, tax returns, all those things may not provide you the income for the home that you otherwise know that you could afford or otherwise could qualify for. So we want to bring you resources, and are bringing you resources in the coming weeks. And we're going to have that conversation as well, because our goal, our mission here is to empower you. So we're going to talk about that. If you're a business owner, we want you to start making sure that you tune in and listen, because this show just isn't for the people that purchase or sell a traditional way. It's for the people who are looking to be empowered, to be assisted, and in turn to achieve their goals. And we, in turn, here at Exit Strategy Radio Show, want to make sure that that happens for you. We are in conversations now with investors from all over the U.S. who are looking within the state of South Carolina to purchase property for investment. Some are looking for a rental, some are looking for buying for flips, some of them are looking to do short-term rentals or what have you. We have all those things that are available to you as a resource, and we're going to bring that stuff to air to share this information with you. It's important, it's imperative that you guys continue to tune in and listen, because as we go, we want you all to grow. So guys, as we get to the end of today's show, we always want to tell you and I always want to share with you the reason why we do this and remind you again of it. Exit Strategies, this show is my baby. It's my method of giving back to our community. We want to help you with your mindset so that you'll be receptive to the education that we're trying to bring to you. We want to empower you through that education to act, and we want to see your actions be successful. That is what we do here at Exit Strategies Radio Show. That is what we want to bring to you. Guys, as you know, as I always say to you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I'm going to see you guys out there in them streets. Guys, that was a great show today, and we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Exit Strategies Radio Show. My name is Corwyn J. Millette. Yes, that is me. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in for today's episode. Exit Strategies is my baby. It is how I give back to our community. It is how I foster goodwill, spread good news, and trustfully help you get great results. Guys, as I always say to you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there in the street.